Hey, did you know that the temperature can affect how far your ball can travel? It's true. A warm golf ball can actually go farther than a cold golf ball. Isn't that amazing? The optimum temperature range when you're playing golf is for the golf ball to be about 70 to 90 degrees. That's when it's going to be able to go the farthest. If it's really cold, if it's say 40 degrees or under, it could actually prevent the ball from going 5, 10, 15 yards. It would actually go that much farther if it were warmer than if it were colder. However, it takes a while for a golf ball to get that cold. So the way that you store your golf ball is really important, especially on a cold day. If you are throwing your golf equipment in the trunk of a car or leaving it outside, then that ball is going to get cold overnight and it's going to stay cold when you play the next day. But if you keep it inside and only take it out when it's time to go to the course, it'll be a lot warmer and it'll play a lot better than a cold ball. So keep it warm and it'll go farther. Speaking of keeping things warm, let's talk about solar energy. Solar energy refers to energy from the sun. The sun has produced energy for billions of years. It is the most important source of energy for all life forms. Solar energy is a renewable source of energy, unlike non-renewable sources such as fossil fuels. The main benefit of solar energy is that it does not produce any pollutants. It's one of the cleanest sources of energy. It is a renewable source of energy, it requires low maintenance, and it's easy to install. The only limitation that solar energy possesses is that it cannot be used at night. And the amount of sunlight that is received on Earth, well, that depends on things like location and time of day, time of year, and weather. Now, currently, solar energy only meets a small portion of our energy needs. However, thanks to growing concerns about the cost and environmental impact of burning fossil fuels such as oil, coal, and natural gas, harnessing usable energy from the sun is getting better and better. One of the great things about solar energy is that we can use both simple and complex strategies to capture it and use it for heating. In this lesson, we're going to take a look at two strategies for capturing the power of the sun: active and passive solar heating. Let's start with passive solar heating. Passive solar heating, as you might have guessed, is passive. That means it doesn't require much work on our part. In other words, passive solar energy takes advantage of the existing heat generated by the sun to heat spaces. Passive solar heating is also what makes greenhouses effective at growing plants all year round. When the sun's rays penetrate the windows of a greenhouse, the items inside the greenhouse absorb and then release the heat, providing a nice environment for the plants to grow. Because passive solar heating does not involve any mechanical devices, a home designed for passive solar heating will need to be positioned in a way that allows heat from the sun to enter it, even in the winter. Let's talk about thermal mass. Beyond being positioned correctly, a passive solar heating design is also going to depend on the thermal mass of the walls and the floors and anything else in the home. So what is thermal mass? Well, thermal mass can be defined as a material's ability to absorb, store, and release heat. How about an example? When the sun's rays enter a home in the winter, the heat energy is absorbed by materials inside the building that have a high thermal mass. That's going to include materials that are dense, like stone and brick, concrete, ceramic tile. These materials absorb and hold onto the heat during a period of time that the sun shines on them, and then they slowly release that heat throughout the nighttime, and that keeps the home at a more stable and comfortable temperature. Here's one way to think about thermal mass. When it snows, you probably notice that snow easily melts on the road surface, but it clings to the grass and to the trees. That's because the dense material that makes up the road has a high thermal mass, and it's held onto the sun's heat, causing the snow to melt on contact. But the grass and the trees, those are less dense, and they have a low thermal mass, so the snow doesn't melt immediately when it touches them. The other type of solar heating is active solar heating. Active solar heating is a more involved process than passive solar heating. While passive solar heating employs methods to capture heat from the sun, it doesn't do anything to actively enhance the process. In contrast, active solar heating uses mechanical and electrical equipment to enhance the conversion of solar energy to heat and to electricity. Although it's more involved, active solar systems can generate a lot more heat than a passive system. For active solar heating, you need a solar collector, which is a device that's used to absorb solar energy. Solar collectors can be simple designs, but you likely think of solar collectors as the solar panels that are found on rooftops of homes and other buildings. Solar panels are typically composed of solar cells, which are devices that directly convert light from the sun into electricity. And that kind of stuff, all of that electronic and mechanical stuff that captures the sun's energy and works with it and converts it into electricity, that requires a lot of work, and that's why it's called active solar heating. Alright, today we have two activities to do to investigate solar power. One of them is very easy, and the other one is more of a medium difficulty, but not that hard. You can choose to do one or the other or both. It's up to you, depending on the materials you have and how much time you have. Both of these activities use passive solar heating, which we learned about in the lesson today. Okay, for this easy activity, you need two pieces of paper, one black and one white. I didn't have a black piece of paper, so I just colored one in with a black Sharpie. Okay, so those should be about the same size. You're also going to need 2 ice cubes that are about the same size. And you're going to need a sunny spot. Set your 2 pieces of paper next to each other in the sunny spot, and then put an ice cube on top of each one. And make a prediction about which ice cube is going to melt faster and why. And then observe it and let us know what happened. If you can't do this outside, you can do it in a windowsill or something like that. But I would recommend that you put your pieces of paper in a bowl or something, because when the ice cube melts, it's going to create a watery mess, and you don't want to make your windowsill all wet. Here's a closer look. Okay, and while those are melting, I'm going to show you activity number 2, which is to make a solar oven. Let's look at the materials that we need. Okay, to make your oven, you are going to need some sort of a box. I think a pizza box, a used pizza box, is probably perfect for this. If you don't have a used pizza box, you can use any box that opens in this kind of way. Maybe something like this takeout box. Anything that has like a lid that you can close like that should work. You're also going to need plastic wrap, some kind of plastic food wrap, saran wrap, or whatever. You'll need aluminum foil, scissors, tape, and a pencil is what you're going to use to prop the box open. You'll see what I mean by that. And finally, because it's an oven, you're going to want to make something to eat. So get your parents' permission, of course. They can probably tell you something. I'm going to make nachos. So I have some shredded cheese and some corn chips here, and I'm going to heat those up in my solar oven. Step 1 is you're going to cut a large square out of the top of the pizza box. So this part here, you're going to cut that out. You do not want to cut the top off completely. You want to just cut a square out, and then you're going to leave a flap on the back of it so it can stand up without falling off. Next thing you're going to do is you're going to take the plastic wrap and you're going to tape over this space here. I think it's best to actually open it up, put the plastic wrap right around here, and then tape it around the edges. You can see I've taped the plastic wrap here, and I've done a pretty good job of sealing up the edges around there. You want to try not to leave too much space between the tape, maybe even no space, because what's going to happen is the plastic is going to trap the heat inside of the box. When the heat goes in there, the plastic will let the light through so it gets hot, but then the plastic will keep the heat from coming back out. It'll trap it inside there. The next step is to take your aluminum foil and line the inside of your box with it, including the bottom and the sides. You want to cover those up with aluminum foil. There we go, we're all lined up on the bottom and the sides. If you want, you can tape your tinfoil to the box, but what I like about tinfoil is it's very malleable and you can actually shape it and it'll usually hold in place without any tape necessary. So there we go. Next step. Next step is to close your box and then look back at the flap that you made, and you're going to want to cover this flap with tinfoil too. At this point, your oven is pretty much ready to go. You can take your food and put it inside of the oven, or whatever it is you're going to melt. And a note, I think you're not going to make a whole meal for people or even for yourself here. You want to go with something really small, just so you can see the effect of the solar oven. You might not even want to eat the food because it's not quite as sanitary. It's not a real oven, so just be careful with this. I'm going to go ahead and recommend you don't even eat it. Just watch what happens. Okay, my food is in the oven. My pizza box is closed, my flap is open, and you can see the plastic wrap is covering it, so the food is under the plastic wrap there. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to put it in direct sunlight, and I'm going to try to angle it so that the sun hits the aluminum foil and reflects onto the food. You might want to put on sunglasses for this because I don't want it to hurt your eye if it reflects from the aluminum foil back to your eyes. That could be painful, so be careful. Okay, let's go to direct sunlight. You might need something to prop open the box with, like a pencil here too. Here I am in direct sunlight. I'm gonna try to move the food forward. And I'm trying to get the light from this to be directed onto the nachos. Let's see, what's the best angle for this? Maybe like that? Whatever can catch the sun and put it back on there. I'm gonna prop it up with my pencil. That ought to work. Okay, and now we play the waiting game. Depending on how hot it is and how sunny it is, it's gonna take, an indeterminable amount of time for your food to cook in there, for whatever it is to melt. So just kind of keep an eye on it, check it out every 5 or 10 minutes or so, and see if you can watch it melt. Again, probably not gonna wanna eat what's inside of there. This is more of just like a demonstration so you could see how the solar oven works. My nacho cheese is slowly melting using only the power of the sun. Have a good day, everybody.